Ladies and gentlemen, today we are switching things up. Today we are going lean and mean. Today we are going to make herb butter steak with green beans. Let's get into it. All right, now for today's recipe, this is everything we're going to need. You're going to need steak, obviously. You're going to need green beans. You're going to need butter to make your herb butter. You're going to need rosemary, thyme, sage, black pepper, and salt. Now, as always, you guys know that I love chuck steak, so I'm going in with a boneless chuck steak. If you guys want to use a different cut of steak, you can do it. That's completely preference. This is just what I like. I like chuck steaks because it's a good mixture of lean and fatty. When I'm eating my steaks, I don't like my steaks too fatty, but I also don't like them too lean either. So that's why I get chuck steaks. So first, we're going to start out by heating up some water in a pot and blanching these string beans. So let's do it. All right, so we're going to go in with the water. And I think to blanch these, I'm going to go in probably about 3/4 of the pot full. I think that should be enough. So that's about 3/4. Actually, it's about half. I think we're going with a little bit more water. But while I'm doing that, what we're going to go ahead and do is, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut these string beans because I feel like these are a little big for this pot. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut these in half. Then once this water gets done heating up, we're going to throw it in the pot. All right, so I'll take about half of these. Do a little bit more. All right, that should be good. So that's about the length you want them. Just go straight down the middle like that. And for this recipe, you don't have to use raw green beans, but fresh is always better, in my opinion. I like to keep my food as fresh as possible. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these green beans and we are going to wash them off because God knows where these green beans have been. You guys always want to get in the habit of washing your food. I don't care how clean it looks at the store. You have no idea what was going on its way to you. So make sure you clean that. All right. All right, so our water is about ready. Now, when you're blanching vegetables, you don't want the water boiling. You just want the water to get to a decent level of heat, but you kind of want to get it like right before boiling where it's simmering, but it's not boiling. So you see how right now it's simmering. This is where you want to throw it in. So we're going to go ahead, throw these in here. Boom, just like that. Now, when you're blanching, you don't keep this in here too long. You want to do this about roughly 2 to 5 minutes, but it does vary. Okay, it varies on what type of green bean you have, exactly how hot your water is, and what's your desired level of crispiness, tenderness, softness, etc. So I'm going to run this for about 4 minutes and we'll check on it then. All right, boom. So the timer's going off. We're going to go ahead and check it now. I'm going to check the tenderness level of it. So I'm just using the tongs and I'm just squeezing it like this so I can feel the tenderness of it. You don't want to put your hands in this water because it is steaming hot. And I think I'm going to do it a little bit longer. So we're going to go for about another 2 to 3 minutes. And then we're going to pull it in. All right, so it's been about another 3 minutes. We're going to go ahead and drain these string beans. It's a lot of steam, just like that. And also another option you can do is you can also pour these in ice water if you want to make ice water just to chill them and make them crispier. But I'm going to skip that step today. We're going to go ahead and put it to the side and just let it chill like that. Now, we are going to go ahead and start seasoning the steak so that we can get it into the cast iron, and then we're going to put it in the oven. I do have a thicker steak, and as I told you guys, when you guys are doing a thicker steak, you want to throw it in the oven. That way it cooks all the way through evenly. If I just try to cook this steak on the stove top, it's going to be very hard to cook all the way. So we're going to sear it in the cast iron, and then we're going to throw it in. But first, let's go ahead and season it. All right, so as you guys can see, this is a pretty thick chuck steak. So we're definitely going to be throwing this in the oven. All right, so we got some salt. And when you're salting beef, as I told you guys, you want to be generous with the salt. With beef, seasonings do not adhere as much as chicken or fish does. So you guys want to be very generous with the salt. It takes a lot more seasoning to penetrate the meat, especially when you're doing like leaner meats. We're also going to go in with some pepper, especially when you're doing like leaner meats too. It takes more seasoning to penetrate it versus like a fattier meat where it's going to absorb that seasoning better. So you want to be very generous with the seasoning. Also, I'm going to go in with the goat sage. Love sage. Yeah. Flip it over. The other side as well. Yeah, just like that. Every corner, every crevice. Want to make sure you guys get the sides too, everywhere. Now that it's coated well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer of oil on it. That way, when we put it on the pan, it's going to make that sear, the skin sear very well. So you want to make sure you oil it up after you season it, and then we're going to throw it in the pan. All right, so we got the steak right here. Go ahead and oil it up really good. Avocado oil, as per usual, but you may use any oil that you desire. I like using avocado oil, so I don't use seed oils on this channel. So avocado oil is what I cook with 99% of the time, really. Now we're gonna take the pan. I already got my cast iron hot. Gonna go ahead, move that around. As I tell you guys in every show or every video, you always want to have a mitt if you have a cast iron. This handle gets super hot. You don't want to burn yourself, so you want to make sure that you have a glove. That way you can grab it and turn the pan around so you can spread your oil. All right. You also want to make sure that the pan is really, really hot. That's how you get a good sear on it. So you want to know how hot it is, you put your hand over it. So we're going to take the steak. Going to lift it up just like that. And then we're going to drop it. Just like that. And we're going to let that sit for about 5 minutes, give or take. And then we're going to turn it on the other side. All right, so it's about time to flip it. It's been about 5 minutes, so we're just going to flip it over. Look at that sear. Now that is beautiful. That is what you want your steak to look like when you sear it. That is beautiful. So we're going to let that sit for another about 2 minutes in the cast iron, and then we're going to put it in the oven. All right, so we're about to put the steak in the oven. I have mine set to 500 degrees. Now, I like my steak medium rare. It all depends on how you want your steak. Now, how long to put your steak in the oven completely depends on what type of steak you have, how thick the cut is, what temp you have your oven set at. All of those things play into a factor. So I don't want to give you guys set times because it all completely varies. So I'm going to go ahead and put mine in the oven for about 4 minutes. And then we're going to take it out. All right, so it's time to pull this bad boy out. Whew, it's toasty. All right, that looks amazing. I'm going to pull that boy out. You guys can just see the color on that and the texture. That looks great. So we're going to go ahead and sit this to the side and let it rest. And we're going to go ahead and start making the herb butter. All right, now for this herb butter, I'm going in with about half a stick of butter, which is about 4 tablespoons. So I told you guys before, when you're making this herb butter, you want to make sure that you're just melting the butter down, right? You don't want to simmer the button, or sear the butter. You don't want to sear the butter and let it steam off because you want to maintain all the butter that's here. So you want to get the pot hot, but you want to keep it on a low. And if this helps, you can take something to kind of just swirl it around like that. And that's going to make sure that your butter melts evenly and doesn't fizzle out. You just want to work it nice and slow. You don't want to rush it because if you rush it, it's going to steam out. Now, while that's melting, we're going to go ahead and start seasoning the butter to create herb butter. All right, so our butter is melted down. We're going to go in with some salt. You also want to be careful. I'm using unsalted butter. I always cook with unsalted. If you're using salted butter, you want to be careful with the salt. You need to make sure you're using unsalted or salted. All right. The last thing you want to do is make this too salty. You want to go in with some sage, and you want to go heavy with this. Like I said, it is an herb butter, so you want it to be herby. So I'm going to go heavy with the sage. We're also going to go in with some thyme leaves, another classic herb. And then also we're going to go in with a little bit of rosemary. I love rosemary. Now, some people don't like rosemary. It's a complete preference thing, but it's another thing that adds a really nice touch to it. And we're just going to get a spatula. Look at this fork. And we're just going to swirl it around just like that. Make sure that it gets evenly dispersed throughout the butter. All right. And there you have it. Herb butter. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to take these green beans. We still have this juice left over from the steak. So we're going to saute the green beans in this steak juice, and then we're going to cover it with herb butter along with the steak. All right, so now we got the pot hot. We're going to go ahead and go in with the string beans. Spread that out pretty good. All right, we're going to go in with some salt. All right, we're going to go in with some pepper. Yeah. I like pepper, so I put a little extra. We're going with some sage, of course. Be generous with the sage, the goat. Do a little bit of thyme. Not too crazy with it. And I'm also going to shake things up, put some paprika in there. This is a complete preference thing, but I like paprika, but not too crazy with it. Just a little bit to shake things up. All right. We're going to toss it. Sorry about that. That was super loud. You just want to shake those string beans around and make sure that they get coated really well. As you can see, those are really coated. That's how you want it. And the goal of this essentially is just to get a nice good sear on the string beans. When we blanch them, we already cooked them 90% of the way. So you don't need to cook them like crazy in the saute pan, right? You're just essentially just warming them up and seasoning them. Oh yeah, that's radical. A little bit more salt. That is very tasty. All right, so now we're gonna cut the steak. When you cut steak, you always want to cut it at a bias. So to separate this one out, actually, you always want to cut it at a bias for presentation purposes. All right. This knife needs to be sharpened tremendously, and that way you can blade it like that. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the next piece. Bias. You want to keep it at a bias, keep it angled. That way the cuts are nice and presentable. You can see the temp of the steak. So this is a little over, I would say. I would say this is medium, not medium rare, but that's fine. It's all part of the game. Like I said, with steak is a very touchy thing. It's hard to nail every time. It varies on what type of oven you're using, the cut of the meat, all of that matters, the temp. So there it is. Now we're going to go ahead and plate that up with the string beans and pour the herb butter on top. All right, so we have our herb butter. Let's pour it on over. Yeah, that looks amazing. Zig it across just like that. Beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Herb butter steak with green beans. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, wishing you peace and prosperity. Until next time, see you soon.